Hey everyone, welcome! Today we are diving into something that's, kind of the invisible backbone of every single app you use, software architecture. It's the real reason some apps are just rock solid and fast and, well, why others seem to crash at the worst possible moment. Let's get into it. This is the big question, right? The one that every developer, every company, eventually has to face. You start with this amazing idea. You build something that works, it's great. But then, as you get more users, you add more features, everything starts to get slow, buggy, and it just feels like it's all held together with duct tape. So how do you actually prevent that from happening?
Well, the secret is to change how you think. Stop saying your code is just a big pile of features. Instead, I want you to imagine you're a city planner. I mean, you wouldn't just start throwing up buildings all over the place, would you? No way. You'd need a plan. You'd need a blueprint.
And that is exactly what software architecture is. It's the master plan for our digital city. It's what decides where the roads go, what the buildings are for, and how everything connects to create this thriving metropolis that can actually grow and adapt over time.
So here's what that really means. Architecture isn't about the tiny details in one specific file of code. Nope, it's the big picture. It's the fundamental, high-level decisions you make before you even write line 1. These choices are what determine if your app is built to last for years or if it's going to collapse under its own weight.
Okay, so every great city is built out of some pretty basic materials, right? And our software city is no different. So before we can even think about construction, we got to understand the fundamental building blocks we're going to be working with. First up, we have components. Think of these as the individual buildings in our city. You've got the library, you've got the bank, the hospital, the post office. Each one is its own little world with a very specific job to do. The best part? You can renovate the library without having to shut down the hospital. So if the components are the buildings, what's an interface? Well, it's like the front door and the signs on that building. The sign on the bank says, deposit checks here or open new account. It tells you what you can do, but you have no idea how the bank's internal machinery actually processes your check. And that's the whole point. It provides clear, simple rules for how to interact without ever showing you the messy details inside. This really gets to the heart of it. I mean, having a bunch of amazing, well-designed buildings is great, but that doesn't make a city. A city comes alive in how all those buildings work together. And this leads us to two of the most important words in all of software architecture: coupling and cohesion. Let's start with coupling. This is all about how tangled up your buildings are with each other. Imagine if to replace a window in the library, you had to shut down the power to the hospital and reroute all the plumbing from the bank. That's what we call tight coupling. And trust me, it's a total nightmare. What you want is loose coupling, where your buildings are independent and just communicate over simple, standard roads.
Cohesion, on the other hand, is all about what's going on inside each building. Is your library focused? Does it only have books and things related to reading, or have you also stuffed a pizza oven and some spare car parts in the back? A library with high cohesion does one thing, and it does it really, really well.
So, at the end of the day, the goal is pretty simple to say, but a lot harder to do. We want to build a city full of specialized, well-organized buildings. That's our high cohesion. And we want to connect them with simple, standard roads so they can stay independent. That's our loose coupling. That's the dream. All right, we've got our principles down. Now we, as the city planners, have to make our first huge decision. Are we going to build one massive, all-in-one skyscraper that does everything? Or are we going to build a sprawling neighborhood made of lots of smaller, specialized buildings?
The skyscraper approach? In the software world, we call that a monolith. Everything, the bank, the library, the hospital, they're all just different floors in one gigantic building. The entire city is just one single massive program.
And the neighborhood approach? That's what we call microservices. Here, every part of the city, the bank, the library, the hospital, is its own separate little building or service. They're all independent, they might even have their own teams working on them, but they can all talk to each other using the city's road network. Now this is where it gets really interesting, because it's all about trade-offs. Look, building that one single skyscraper is usually way simpler to start with, but what happens when you need to fix the plumbing on the 10th floor? You might have to shut down the entire building. With the neighborhood, you just work on the library and no one else is affected. And what if the library gets super popular? Well, you just build more libraries. You don't have to build a whole new city. And maybe most importantly, if one building catches fire, the rest of the neighborhood just keeps on running. Okay, so we've built our city. It's a massive success.
But now we've got a whole new set of problems, right? We've got traffic jams, we've got power outages, and we've got to keep expanding. Running a modern digital city takes some seriously sophisticated infrastructure.
First problem, traffic. A load balancer is basically your citywide traffic control system. When thousands of people are all trying to get to the bank at once, it doesn't just send them all down the same congested street. No, it intelligently spreads them out across different routes, maybe to different bank branches, to make sure everything keeps moving nice and smooth.
And then there's caching. You can think of this like setting up little convenience stores all over the city. Instead of forcing everyone to travel all the way downtown to the main warehouse just to get a loaf of bread, they can grab it from a local cache right around the corner. It's way faster, and it takes a ton of pressure off the main system.
So what happens when disaster strikes? That's where a circuit breaker comes in. It's pretty much a digital fuse box for our entire city. Let's say one building starts having electrical problems, and it's sucking up way too much power. The circuit breaker trips. It temporarily cuts that one building off from the grid so it doesn't cause a citywide blackout. This is so crucial because it stops one small problem from taking down the whole system. Now, when your city is all spread out, like our microservices neighborhood, you slam right into a fundamental law of the universe for distributed systems. It's called the CAP theorem, and it's basically the ultimate you can't have your cake and eat it too scenario.
So the theorem says you've got these three things you desperately want, but, and this is the catch, you can only ever truly guarantee two of them at the same time. You've got consistency, which means everyone in the city has the exact same information all the time. You've got availability, which means the city is always open for business. And you've got partition tolerance, meaning the city still functions even if a bridge collapses and cuts one part off from the other. The key here is that you have to choose which two are most important. For something like your social media feed, availability is probably king. It's okay if you see a post a few seconds late. But for a bank, consistency is completely non-negotiable. This one decision shapes the entire feel and behavior of your system.
And all of this brings us to one final, really important idea. You don't just build a city and then walk away. A city is a living, breathing thing. It grows, it changes, it adapts, and your software architecture has to do the same. So let's wrap up with the big takeaways from all this. First, good architecture is never about finding one perfect answer. It's always about making smart, informed trade-offs. Second, you have to design it from day one with the idea that it's going to evolve and change. Third, this isn't some job for one person in an ivory tower. It's a shared responsibility for the entire team. And finally, the whole point is to build a resilient system, a city where a small fire doesn't burn the whole thing down. So the next time you start a project, don't just jump in and start laying bricks. Take a minute, be the architect. Think about the kind of city you really want to build. Because the blueprint you draw today doesn't just decide what you can build right now, it determines everything you'll be able to build tomorrow.